I'm taking each of the rulers in what I think will be the final set of builds and taking them through their paces. Now, I know that I will have in the final megacube rulers that I consider casual, good, but not my top 10. Dark Alice is one of them. It's a fun ruler, it does good things. I can build it with shadows just for fun. And then I've got a wide selection of cards, of course. There'll be singles that I think I'll get. So this is getting us farther along. The last time I built Alice in here, it was a wrong deck. I mean, I even used 36 cards in the build instead of 40, which makes no sense. This one is one step further along. So this one has, I'm going to look through cards in all three clusters. Start thinking about balancing, start thinking about what the stones are going to be, get more detail, but then I'll parallel out and start off on Valentina from Legacy Lost and also Grimm. So I think I'm going to have one ruler from Alice, cluster Dark Alice for now, one ruler from Grimm, definitely Grimm, and then one ruler from Lapis, Valentina, and take those three to final or get very close and then think about what cards I need, because when you get into the things that I want to put in the decks, for example, I would like the decks to have 4 Rulers Memoria, and that is a big requirement, and that kind of limits your decks. I mean, am I going to have 100 Rulers Memorias? I'm not sure, and I'm not even on 3 colors in here, but the fact that I can be on any color will help. Will help if I change my mind later. So right now, I think for the stones, I could do something like 2 of these, 2 Rulers Memoria. It will allow me to add a 3rd color later on, maybe add like a Cheshire Cat into the deck. I'm not sure. And then, of course, definitely on Darkness and Wind, black-green. So that's settled. But anyways, it's early days for does this deck need a 3rd color? Now, what wires up the deck is really the linkage between Dark Alice and Schrodinger. I've already discussed Dark Alice in that earlier build, so I'm not going to discuss the card in such detail. But in its GAT art, it fetches you a Schrodinger. Now, that means I'll want 4. I think I'll want 4 of these. And also, Schrodinger can act as it gets you every color. So really, the deck can definitely handle a 3rd color. And maybe this is along the way. So this is now really, in this deck, in this set of cards that I'm discussing, I'm really talking about the main color, which is darkness. The main attribute, color. Which is darkness, and then also the attribute that will give it a lot of power. Wind is the color of Force of Will. Not only do I want to have a playset of Severing Winds in this deck, but I also want to have access to the toolkit that comes with Wind. Now, Dark Machina says, when this card enters your field, search your main deck for a card with no attribute, meaning one of these dudes. No attribute, right there. And put it into your hand and shuffle your main deck. I want this guy to get me my Schrodingers if they don't come up. So the question will be, do I do 4, 4? That's already a lot of slots. So the same way as when I discussed the stones, am I saying that I need 4, 4, and 4? That's kind of the whole all the stones, and maybe that's what they are. And then because I have 4 Rulers Memoria, later on, I can add like what's called a I'm forgetting the term, but you add a little bit of another attribute. So just a few, a couple of white cards, or a couple of blue cards, just because you can, and you can play them. So splash, man, and it was Madolche. I had to ask my son. I could not for the life of me remember. Yeah, what was that archetype? I was talking about the Cakes card. What was that archetype in Yu-Gi-Oh that I really liked? Madolche. Alright, so I've discussed the ruler, I've discussed the regalia that comes with the ruler, and that attribute, a no attribute resonator that can be used to tutor for Schrodinger. I've discussed this Memoria, which does a minus 100 power on your opponent's resonators. So it's a target resonator, but it's really, yeah, whenever a shadow, so if you have two of these on the board, whenever a shadow resonator comes in, you can either put minus 100 on one, minus 100 on another of your opponents, or do minus 200 on your opponent. So I think you'd want, if you go all in on shadows, which I want to do that. Alright, so that takes care of the kind of like the heart of the deck. Then I can go into, now there is one card that does also come with Alice, and it's this card. Recollection of Dystopia. Your opponent banishes a resonator. As long as your J ruler is Dark Alice, you may pay darkness less to play its God's Art abilities this turn. And so basically it makes it free. Yeah, it makes it free. That's fine. That's good. Alright, so that's more of the Dark Alice toolkit. Now let's go over the shadows. And I believe I've got all of them in here. I doubt I'm missing one. I think, well, number one, the Shadow Lord is a very important card. What is a Shadow Lord? This card says other Shadow resonators you control gain plus 200. So I need a playset of this card in this deck. Whenever this card deals damage, you gain that much life. It's got lifelink. It's got an awakening, which I believe is kicker. Awakening is kicker in Magic. So you pay it on top of it. So you're paying it for 2, and you need 4. Now, again, look at this. The requirement on darkness is very tight in this deck. So I don't think I want to do a full third color that would break up the resonators, the 40 resonators, into, like, you know, 12. What is it? 13, 14. I don't want to do that. I want to have like 20 shadows and then do a little something with a third color somewhere later on, like a Cheshire Cat or something. Alright, so that's good. So I definitely need 4 of this guy. Now for my other shadows, these are the ones that I think this is all of them. Okay, so let's just go through all of them. Now I didn't order them. Did I order them by their casting cost? Yeah, I believe I did. That's great. That's great. So at the 1-drop, I've got, and I gotta have 1-drops. So I'm gonna have definitely a playset of this guy. See, I'm already coming up with playsets of a lot of things, and before you know it, I have like 80 cards in the deck and then I need to start cutting down. And I'm not at the point where I'll collect the playsets and put them all in. That's much later, as I'm doing these parallels of all these decks to make the final megacube. Okay, and I don't know if it's going to be mega. Maybe it's going to be mini after all if I run out of money. Being a peasant, I can see that happening. So when it enters the field, reveal the top card of your main deck. If it's a Shadow Resonator, put it into your hand. So see, yeah, you want to have a lot of shadows. If you have a Resonator that's not a shadow, it better be one kick-ass dragon, and that's what I'm planning to do. Or something totally disruptive. When this card is put into a graveyard from your field, each player banishes a non-shadow resonator. That's very good. Again, back to Schrodinger. Schrodinger feeds on the number of being banished. So if there are 5 or more cards in your opponent's removed area, your J ruler, oh wait a minute, let me see, yeah, each player banishes. So yeah, you banish something, fine, but your opponent banishes something. That's what counts for the 5 for Schrodinger to give it plus 500 to Alice. Now, you may have more than one Schrodinger on the field. That's really helpful. Okay, so banishing, and shadows. Let's keep that in mind. And this guy is a 2, 300, very weak. It's a very weak card. Maybe it won't make it. This one's got a fat butt, but it can't attack for anything. It says, when this card deals damage to a Resonator, destroy that Resonator. It doesn't need it because it's got Death Touch. Very good. Then, Dark Resard has a stealth ability. You control 3 or more Shadow Resonators. Again, you want to be all in on shadows in this deck. So So that's the trigger for it. When this card enters your field from a chance standby area, you pay 2, you put it in a chance standby, you wait for the condition, and I guess you have to pay the casting cost. Or maybe you don't when you put it in. I'm confused about that. I need to read the rule book. I've been reading the rule book, but not as well as I should be. You may banish another resonator. If you do, your opponent discards a card and banishes a resonator. Yeah, and you should have something to banish. Now flyers. The deck needs flyers. Here's one of your flyers. 375. And for 1 darkness, it deals 600 damage to target resonator with flying. That's like almost like a Gale Force for small critters on a stick. Yeah, I like that a lot. Then Elizabeth, when a resonator is put into a graveyard from your opponent's field, that's going to happen. It better. Recover this card and it gains plus 400, so it becomes a 600, 900. Yep, okay. As this card enters your field, you may remove a resonator in your graveyard from the game. If you do, this card enters your field as a copy of the card removed this way. That means it no longer is a shadow. It doesn't say, it did not say, and it retains, and it's also still a shadow. It's not. So it's a 4, and it has to come in over something. Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. And then, see, this is where your red that you need to splash is coming from at least. When this card enters your field, it deals 1,000 damage to target resonator. That's a kicker that this guy has. It's very good, and he's an uncommon. And of course, he's from Twilight Wanderer, so we're going to have a lot of those cards. Yeah, so those are the shadows. All right. And, so I see already 4 here, 4 there, 4 there. Before you know it, we have more than 40 cards. All right, so then let's go to the regalia, the other regalia. And I've already talked about the regalia, so I'm only just going to mention them. The other cards in here, I'm going to mention some, but I'm going to breeze through. Maybe I'm not even going to discuss some of these cards. So there's going to be some regalia that you will put in, depending on the rules. And of course, I'm going to have only one of each of the good ones that are banned, these 2. And then maybe, because I don't want to have like a gazillion regalia, because I'm all in on shadows, I'll have some of these guys. And I've discussed the green toolkit in another video, so I'm not going to discuss these. Only one of this card, of course, because it's banned. Otherwise, but in my kitchen table, it'll get 1. It'll be limited. So your usual cancel, spell, business. Then from darkness, your usual reanimation and on whack things. I'll pick a few. And I've already discussed these in their own video. Then I've also discussed these guys, so they would be helping me with my, I wouldn't have to pick will, but it's not that important. And then of course with cards that I have not discussed and will discuss in a Valentina build coming up for darkness. So these will get discussed at some point. But definitely there will be cards from the Wind Toolkit from Lapis, such as Gale Force, destroy target resonator with flying. This is really Plummet, but for 1. Very nice. Don't know if I want to have anything that's not a shadow. Alright, but this guy, target J resonator gains plus 700, plus 700. That's a one heck of a boost. Of course, this card is banned, I believe. But I would put 1 in just for fun. Search your deck for a card and put it into your graveyard. Then shuffle your deck. If this card was awakened, put that card from your graveyard into your hand. I mean, that's really, really powerful. A very powerful effect. Put target resonator that was put into a field this turn on the bottom of its owner's deck. Of course, Severing Wings requires no introduction. And then a Torrent, which I think is Storm, for whacking your opponent's regalia. Very good card. And then another filterer, although I'm not sure that we need any more filtering. It's an elf, so I don't know about that. And then, which I'll discuss when I discuss Valentina, a mana dork in black, destroy all creatures. Then an addition that destroys the card that it bestows, that you put it on. Bestow something, and if it attack, kill it. Look at somebody's hand, put a counter. We're not on counters, but you know, I'm just mentioning cards in Lapis that are pretty good in darkness. Another addition, you may pay one less to play Judgment abilities. I'm not sure. Actually, this card doesn't even belong here because my Judgment abilities are Darkness, Darkness. Never mind. Banish a Resonator, destroy target Resonator. Yeah. Okay, so I'm done with looking at Alice. There are other cards that I know I have not pulled, especially from Echoes. Really good black cards. And so after this, I'm going to discuss. I'm going to crack some Twilight Wanderer packs. Because I've got them and I want to crack them, and then if I have time today I'll discuss Valentina, and then after that, either today, tomorrow, or later on, because I'm off Monday, Tuesday, I'll crack more packs from the Echoes box and more packs from Curse of the Frozen Casket.